Hey guys, this is Chris Jones for episode 11 of Beyond Local. We're here in Wilkes-Barre, Pennsylvania at Studio 16 South, and I am super excited to introduce you to our new Vice President of Sales and Marketing, Jeff Kimmel. Jeff, welcome.
Thank you. Thanks for having me. It's wonderful to be here.
I appreciate that. It's so awesome to have you. We're going to chat in this episode a little bit more about you and your background, and then we're going to dive into two areas that you've really been focused on most recently, and that's e-commerce and the education space. But let's talk more about Jeff Kimmel. Let's first clear any doubts up. What is your relation to Jimmy Kimmel?
Well, Jimmy Kimmel actually is my father. However, James Kimmel, my father, is not the rich TV show host.
Okay.
But my dad's name is Jim Kimmel.
Okay. All right. I'm going to let that one right there. Super good response. So I've known you and known mostly of you over these last, say, half decade or so, because I've always known you here in Northeastern Pennsylvania, really as the face of web.com. And for people that might be watching, web.com is one of the largest technology employers here in Northeastern Pennsylvania. How many employees, roughly?
When we were at our peak, about here locally, about 450.
About 450, and you were the chief guy.
Yes,
correct. All right, so so I've known you. You've been involved in local economic development and technology transfer and commercialization as a board member of the Tech Bridge. And so we've served together on that. But let's go ahead and kind of step back and kind of share with the Beyond Local audience a little bit more about your background.
Sure. So just like every child, when I was younger, I grew up, I wanted to be in the internet. No, not really, but that's where I ended up. So when I graduated college, I started working for an internet service provider down in the Harrisburg area. So, we were helping individuals and businesses get connected and get online, high-speed connections. With that company, I was in operations for a while and then ultimately got into the training and development side of things. From there, that's when I joined what was Network Solutions, now web.com. So they were a domain registrar, but grew into a hosting company. So I've already worked for a firm getting people connected. Now I'm working for a company that helps people build their presence online. So now they could, create their websites, their e-commerce shop, have email, domain names. And then, as luck would have it, I take the next step and I join LSEO, and a digital marketing firm. So we've got people connected, we got people online. Now I'm going to help people get found online. And that's kind of where I've been. Now with web.com and Network Solutions, I was more on the operational side, customer service, technical support, and sales. And now here with LSEO, I'm helping with the sales and marketing side.
Yeah, and you've only been with us for a short period of time, but I remember I think it was day one where I stopped by your executive office there overlooking the beautiful Susquehanna River, and you started to ask really intelligent questions about brand and brand consistency from color to font, et cetera, and really, really excited about you taking ownership of the LSEO brand and how we're marketing to our various clients and prospective clients, and then on the sales side, one of the things that I'm really excited about is that, web.com at the end of the day was a sales organization, wasn't it?
Mm-hmm,
right.
absolutely.
So, tons of products, trying to find, the right product for every single call that would come in. And they did a ton of advertising. And so, I guess cumulatively, 10, 15 years you spent with that organization.
16
correct?
years. Yep.
16 years. Yeah. So we're so fortunate to have you. So let's hear, like, what do you do in your free time? What do you and I know the answer to some of these, so I'm going to call you out if you don't give the
Okay.
answers that I want.
So I don't consider I have any free time, but when I leave the office, I go home to the family. So I have a wife and 3 kids that pretty much take up the rest of my day. For instance, last night playing Wii U with my 8-year-old daughter. She won. But my interests outside of that, I have a major interest in movies. I do movie reviews, and fantasy football. Normally, I like to say I like to golf and ski, but I don't really get to do that often. But I do get to watch my movies, do a little movie reviews, and do a little bit of fantasy football here and there.
Do you think we're going to get fantasy football in this year?
I do think so. I think there's some things that they have to do to make sure it's going to happen. The way they're approaching it right now is a little odd, but I do think that the NFL will play this year.
We'll see. This is an interview of you, not me. I tend to have a little bit more of a skeptical point of view on that, but man, do I hope that it comes back. I'm one of those people that could relate to your love of fantasy football, because when the fall starts coming here in the East, it starts getting colder. People start getting miserable because it's going to start getting, cold outside and snow. Whereas I have difficulty like not wanting to catch up on every single news bite that comes out on NFL, because I love fantasy football. So I could totally relate. So, it's only been about a month since you've been with us, but, 2 areas that you're spending a lot of time on, not 2 areas, but say 2 verticals, are e-commerce and education space. And I thought it made sense to kind of just pick your brain a little bit and get into your mind's eye on why these are important to you, to LSEO. So let's start with e-commerce. Why do you think that e-commerce companies represent a great opportunity for us to really deliver or over-deliver for these types of companies?
Sure. And it's e-commerce companies that are mid and large size. Excuse me, companies that have a lot of products. So when you have a lot of products, there's a lot of opportunity for us to grow your business by just increasing the visibility of every individual product. In addition to that, it gives us more opportunity to build links back to those products, which will increase the visibility there. So that's why, it's very important. And also with big e-commerce companies, they are constantly changing their inventory. So they're changing it, they're adding products to it. So on an ongoing basis, they have to be focused on their SEO and increasing their digital marketing. And they're really focused on their side of their products. How do they, increase their margins? They don't always have time to focus on how do they create brand awareness, or how do they, come up on Google? How do people find them? And that's where they can really rely on us. And the great thing for our side of the house is we can show results. So with e-commerce, it's not so much about how many clicks you get or visits or any impressions. It's revenue. So we can point back to say, here's what we've done for you, and here's what has happened because of it, and the increase in revenue. Mm-hmm. So that's why I think e-commerce is a great vertical for us. And one last point, we talked about my history, with web.com and e-commerce, I have that background. Well, when I came here, I found that a lot of the employees come from the same arena. Mm-hmm. So we have people with a lot of e-commerce experience. So add that all together, it's a great vertical for us, and I think they could really benefit from what we're offering here.
I agree. And when I look at the 20 or so years of experience I have in SEO and digital marketing, I was the founder and former CEO of Pepper Jam. I would say 85-90% of our clients were big box retailers and innovative, pure e-commerce plays. So we were doing digital marketing for Toys R Us and for Dick's Sporting Goods and all of the major professional sports, from the NFL to Major League Baseball. So it is a vertical that I think that you're spot on, is a vertical that LSEO has a special level of expertise and experience in. So I agree. Oh, one other thing is, in some of these past podcasts, we've been meeting with Mark Diamond, our head of paid media here at LSEO. And one of the things that's really exciting about his leadership is that he's been getting the team certified in things like Snapchat ads, TikTok ads, Hulu ads, among others. So I'm sure you agree that those, or do you agree? Do you agree that those types of newer age platforms are a good fit for e-commerce?
Absolutely. I mean, because everybody who's using those platforms are at some point probably shopping online, and they're looking for something that the e-commerce stores offer. And so once they visit it and then they go to Snapchat or TikTok, they're going to see it again, and that's due to Mark and what he's being able to provide. And I think it's an excellent tool for us to use with the e-commerce verticals.
Yeah. And one of the points he made recently was how when we think about this retargeting loop, which is so important to e-commerce companies, somebody comes to your e-commerce shop and then they don't buy because they're searching around and whatnot, but they end up, the ad will continue to follow them. But if all you're using is Facebook and say Google, what happens when they go to TikTok or when they go to Snapchat? So LSEO provides services to make sure that retargeting is available to those e-commerce companies on these new platforms. So the other vertical that you want to chat about is education. So let's chat a little bit more about that. Why is it important for a digital marketing agency like LSEO to be presenting itself to universities and colleges right now as we're in a pandemic?
Right. So I think there's a lot going on. I mean, a lot of businesses were impacted by the pandemic, but one specific area is higher education. They've had to change the way that they deliver their material to their students, whether they're doing online schooling or they're letting people come back on campus, whatever it may be. But one thing that they're losing out on is recruiting. So when the pandemic hit any business, there's going to be layoffs. There's going to be cost cutting. And, we don't know what happened in every institution, but we have to imagine that, some of their marketing might have been impacted by this. And so I think if they are looking to increase their recruiting, you have to market. And the best way to market now, today, with everybody being quarantined, staying home, searching online, is digital marketing and getting your university and colleges in front of the students that you want to attend your school. And as colleges and universities, their sites, if you ever visit them, they're massive. There's a lot of information, which is great. But when they get that big, and there's so many people contributing to the content of those sites, it sometimes loses structure. And when you lose structure on your website, it impacts your rankings on your search engines. And that's something that only an SEO expert would be able to manage and fix, so that when people are searching for the things that your university provides, you're going to float to the top. So the size is huge. And then when you look at we have some experience. So we've worked with a lot of different colleges prior to me coming here. So I'm sure you can speak to who they were and what we've done. But, meeting with Kyle and Mark and finding everything out, there are a lot of common things that we run into with universities. Another one is duplicate content. So they have a lot of duplicate content on their site or subdomains, and the subdomains or the duplicate content are competing against each other for rankings, and that's negatively impacting that site from coming up again. And with universities and colleges, they have a rich history, so they have a lot of old, outdated content. Again, because it's so big, so many people contributing, they forget about this outdated content, which impacts Google crawling it, because now it's got to crawl more pages. And you can't just go out and just delete that. You don't want to lose the history, right? And you don't want to create broken links, because then Google, it'll rank lower again because of that. So, all of these types of things we see with universities and colleges all the time. And, again, a company like any digital marketing company can look at this and find those things, where if you have an SEO specialist in-house, it's a lot for them. So I really think, working with them and, with our background working with the local university and colleges, we want them to be successful. So it's high on our list, and that's part of the reason that I want to continue to focus on higher education, so that people can find our colleges and universities, and they can get the education that they're looking for, and university and colleges can find the students that they're looking for.
Well, listen, I actually think that the perspective that you excuse me, that you have on educational institutions couldn't be more timely, because I agree with you that now more than ever, they need to be able to respond to the dramatic changes, not only the pandemic, but there has been a demographical change in the number of high school students who are applying. So the applicant pool across the country has gone down. So on the one hand, they're dealing with a pandemic. On the other hand, they're dealing with the decline in overall applications. And to your point that you made earlier, that because of the pandemic, many of them have had to furlough and or in some cases make permanent cuts. Having been a member of the board of trustees at a university for over a decade, I did my best, and I think that I had some impact on the resource allocation to marketing, but I would be lying if I didn't tell you that it was always a very tough uphill battle for me to climb. So I know that other colleges and universities across the country are being sort of tasked with dealing with these changes with inadequate resources, which creates an opportunity for LSCO to have this conversation, to go in as an augmented team or as a consultant to really help these universities compete. Because if they can't respond quick enough, unfortunately, the future isn't as bright. So listen, Jeff, it's outstanding to have you as an executive member of the LSCO team. Really just can't wait to bring you on future podcasts so that we could dive into other ideas and issues and maybe debate, fantasy football, among other things. Guys, thank you so much for watching today's podcast. We'll see you for episode 12.